Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome to the deep dive. We take your sources, stacks of them sometimes, and really try to pull out the most important uh, nuggets of knowledge and insight.
Yeah, get right to the core of it.
Exactly. And today, we're plunging into a truly mind-bending theory. I mean, it asks a question so audacious it might just, well, make your head spin a little.
Go on.
What if everything you thought you knew about history wasn't just misinterpreted or maybe incomplete, but was actually a meticulously crafted illusion?
Okay, so not just wrong, but deliberately faked.
Deliberately fabricated,
Yeah.
engineered even by forces we never suspected.
That is an incredibly provocative starting point, isn't it? Because you're immediately challenging the very foundation of, well, of everything we accept as fact.
Right.
It pushes you to question, the reliability of historical records, the intentions behind them, maybe even whether events we take for granted actually happened at all.
Absolutely. So our mission today is to explore excerpts from this really fascinating, and I have to say pretty radical work called Encrypted Reality.
Encrypted reality.
It lays out this sweeping reinterpretation of our collective past. And look, this isn't just about finding a few missing links or pointing out historical biases. This is a deep dive into the audacious idea that history isn't just written by the victors, like we always say, but by a covert network that, well, the source claims quite literally engineered our timeline from the ground up.
Engineered the timeline. That's a big claim.
Huge. So the source material, it really demands that we challenge conventional understanding. It presents this perspective on a secret society, its key operatives, people who allegedly shaped everything from ancient texts right up to global empires, profoundly influencing the whole course of human civilization.
Wow.
So as we start to dig into this, what stands out to you right at the outset?
Honestly, it's the sheer breathtaking scale of the deception being proposed here. I mean, we're not talking about some small, isolated conspiracy theory.
thorough.
This theory suggests a deliberate, massive act of disinformation on a global scale, a fundamental reconstruction of reality as we perceive it. It forces you to completely reevaluate historical methodology itself.
Right. It's fundamental. Okay, so let's jump straight into part one. The book calls this section The Grand Deception History as an Encrypted Text.
Okay.
So the core assertion from Encrypted Reality is basically this. History itself, it's a deliberate fabrication, orchestrated and maintained by this covert network that the author just calls the Watch.
The Watch.
Yeah.
Simple, anonymous.
Yeah. And again, this isn't your garden variety conspiracy theory. It's proposing a complete overhaul of how we understand historical events, whether they even existed, the whole framework of human progress as we know it.
And to ground this huge assertion, does the book point to anyone specific, any key players?
It does. It pinpoints Liam Batiste Alberti, the quintessential Renaissance polymath.
Alberti, sure.
Sure.
Architect, artist, writer, did a bit of everything.
Exactly. He's identified as a central operative within this shadowy network. They even give him a code name in the theory, G.
G. Okay. So Alberti, this figure we think we know from history textbooks, architect, philosopher, cryptographer, he's reimagined here as something much, much bigger and more secretive.
Far more. And then think about the printing press. We've always celebrated it, right? This incredible invention, revolutionary tool, democratizing knowledge, ushering in the Enlightenment.
Yeah, the standard narrative.
But here, the theory argues its critical role was allegedly, well, far more nefarious.
How so?
Not just as a benign tool to spread truth, but as a means to mass-produce forged ancient texts.
Whoa, okay. So the printing press as a forgery machine on a massive scale.
That's the claim. The implication is that the Renaissance wasn't just this organic rebirth of knowledge, but a carefully controlled release of information. Information designed by the Watch.
Precisely. And the purpose, according to this source, was to create a deliberately manipulated timeline. One that solidified the power and, crucially, the legitimacy of the Watch's patrons.
So it reframes the whole Renaissance period.
Completely. Not as an organic rebirth of long-lost knowledge bubbling up, but as a systematic diffusion of already existing, maybe even advanced, understanding.
Understanding that was carefully orchestrated and strategically introduced to the old world, but under the guise of rediscovery.
Exactly. The printing press just allowed them to do it on an unprecedented scale, create and distribute these newly discovered ancient texts super fast, effectively shaping collective memory like never before.
And then there's this other concept the theory introduces, which is, well, it's truly mind-bending. They call it phantom reflections.
Phantom reflections, what does that mean?
It suggests that many events we date way back prior to the 14th century things we attribute to deep antiquity. They might actually be phantom reflections of more recent catastrophes.
Like echoes.
Kind of. Echoes deliberately projected backwards in time. The Black Death, for instance. We know it devastated Europe mid-14th century. The theory uses that as a prime example. The idea is that the trauma, the effects of real recent disasters like the plague, were retroactively inserted into the historical record.
To do what? To create a false sense of deep antiquity.
Exactly. To give the past this artificial weight and length. So events we think happened in, say, ancient Rome or Greece might just be echoes of things that happened much, much later, but were strategically placed further back.
Okay, that's the core challenge right there. It messes with our whole understanding of historical linearity.
Completely.
It posits that what we call the Dark Ages isn't just a time with fewer records. In their model, it's basically prehistory. Reliable history only really gets going around 800 AD, maybe, and the bulk of what we think of as historical events are actually clustered between, say, 1000 and 1500 AD.
So it's a compressed timeline, basically.
Right. Hugely compressed. And this wholesale, intentional projection of recent events onto a fabricated deep past, it means we're dealing with a fundamentally different kind of history. The source even claims things like ancient eclipses, when you check the math, actually align better with 11th century skies, not ancient ones.
Wow.
It implies the watch didn't just tweak narratives, they allegedly altered the entire temporal framework of our past.
That is a staggering thought.
Yeah.
If historical linearity, that sense of a progressive sequential timeline, is just an illusion,
Yeah.
what does that even mean for cause and effect in human development?
Well, it means every assumed cause and effect relationship from ancient history onwards could be totally suspect, right?
Yeah.
If events were just slotted in retroactively, then the rise and fall of empires, the development of technology, the evolution of philosophy, maybe none of it happened organically or sequentially the way we assume.
So the Dark Ages weren't a decline.
Maybe not. Maybe it was just a convenient blank slate, a void the watch could project their fabricated past onto, making their own period of influence look like a natural continuation of this long, grand history. It legitimizes their power. It's like dismantling our whole historical house brick by brick.
And Alberti G, this famous Renaissance figure, if he was central to this massive manipulation, it leads us right into part 2. G, the transcontinental architect of an altered reality.
Okay.
And this is where the theory takes an even more audacious leap. Just hold on to your hat. What does Encrypted Reality propose about Alberti's true origins and his seemingly disconnected historical roles?
Right. This is where it really diverges from anything like mainstream history. It becomes truly mind-bending. The dramatic central claim is Liam Batiste Alberti was not European by birth.
Not European. Then where?
The theory claims he originated from the Americas.
From the Americas. Pre-Columbus.
Pre-Columbus. And not only that, it goes further. It posits that Alberti and the celebrated Aztec Empire founder Nezahualcoyotl and the powerful Inca Empire architect Pachacuti are actually the same person.
Wait, Alberti, Nezahualcoyotl, and Pachacuti are one guy. G.
One single, multifaceted operative, G, seamlessly moving between continents, cultures, identities. The main supporting argument, according to the author. Their remarkably overlapping lifespans, and the near-simultaneous rise of the Aztec and Inca empires in the 15th century. The author calls this too precise to be a coincidence.
Too precise. Wow. That's bold. I mean, the geographical distance alone.
It's extraordinary. But what kind of evidence does the theory offer? You mentioned the Voynich manuscript earlier.
Yeah, that famously undeciphered book. How does that fit in?
The Voynich manuscript is presented as key evidence. You know, this handwritten codex, bizarre illustrations, unknown script. Nobody's cracked it. What's significant here? It's carbon dated to G's active period, roughly early to mid-15th century. And crucially, the theory claims it contains illustrations of plants and minerals found only in Mexico, not Europe.
Mexican plants in a manuscript from Alberti's time?
Exactly. And it's famously unbreakable code. The theory posits it's actually an encrypted version of Nezahualcoyotl's native language, Nahuatl. Specifically, the classical Nahuatl spoken back then.
So the Voynich code is encrypted Nahuatl, if that's true?
It would mean a document that stumped experts for centuries could be a direct linguistic and botanical link, tying G. Alberti directly to his American identity, hidden in plain sight.
Okay, that's a tantalizing clue. But the theory doesn't stop there, right? It says Alberti's whole European persona was faked.
Yeah, a carefully constructed fabrication. For instance, Alberti claimed to be a great musician in Europe. Said he composed things.
Oh, yeah.
But the theory states there's no substantive European evidence, No scores, no contemporary reviews, nothing to back up his musical claims in Europe. But the theory claims you do find that kind of support in Mexican and Peruvian records, under his American aliases. Nezahualcoyotl, for instance, famously set up councils, including a Council of Music and the Arts, and implemented a whole legal code. It links his known skills and philosophical views directly to his American persona, while they're conspicuously missing in Europe.
Suggesting the European identity was the cover.
A meticulously built facade. His real skills manifested under his American names. And apparently Alberti's own autobiography contains cryptic messages, hints about his other aliases, like he left breadcrumbs.
That paints a picture of a master spy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Carefully managing his own story. And what about his physical traits? Does the theory use those?
It absolutely does. Conventionally, Alberti was described as unusually tall, athletic, reputedly capable of leaping over a man's head, throwing things with incredible accuracy.
Sounds like superhero stuff.
Or the traits of a highly skilled secret agent, right? Someone needing serious physical prowess for constant travel and covert ops. And crucially, the theory highlights these significant periods of unaccounted time in the mainstream records for Alberti, Pachacuti, and Nezahualcoyotl.
Blank spots in their biographies.
Convenient blank spots. Obscurities that facilitated the overlapping of their identities, allowed one person to operate in different places without historians being able to pin them down definitively.
So the core argument is, G wasn't born in Genoa in 1404. He was born in pre-Columbian Mexico. His European life was basically one long undercover mission.
That's the crux of it. And his mother's identity, deliberately obscured in European records. Why? Because, the theory suggests, the Americas had not yet been revealed to the European public when he was born.
Oh, okay.
His father's exile from Florence, not political banishment, but a strategic cover-up. It masked G's lack of any documented European past until 1428, when he just sort of appears in Europe as a young adult.
And who do they say his parents really were?
His father is identified as Ixtlicatl, a major figure in Texcoco, believed to be an elite spy himself. His mother, an indigenous queen. This union, the theory suggests, explains G's unique blend of Old World and New World knowledge from birth.
An indigenous queen.
And intriguingly, she's also speculated to be the true reason why the Virgin Mary is immensely popular in the Americas. Her image resonated with existing reverence for female deities, a kind of pre-planned syncretism.
Wow. And the father, Ixtlicatl.
He apparently called their homeland Eslan a place of whiteness, maybe meaning snow, or maybe the Atlantic Ocean, hinting at connections beyond Mesoamerica. And the Akoloa elite, Nezahualcoyotl's family, supposedly introduced slightly different phenotypic traits. Sharper features, lighter skin, suggesting a lineage that wasn't purely local.
And is there any visual evidence? Pictures, drawings?
They claim so. A comparison of Nezahualcoyotl's pre-Hispanic glyph, like his symbol, from the 16th century Codex Ixtlicatl with known images of Alberti, supposedly reveals undeniable similarities.
So not just documents a missing time, but actual visual likeness.
Which raises that really important question, doesn't it? If identities were that fluid, strategically managed, even visually similar across continents, how much of what we think is historical fact, especially biography, is actually just a carefully curated performance?
Yeah. The implications for understanding who these people were?
Yeah.
Profound.
It forces you to think that maybe the narratives we've built are entirely designed.
In G's life story, it's not just presented as hidden coincidences. It's framed as this epic foundational journey, empire founding, a prototype narrative. Can you trace that incredible journey for us?
Okay, so the theory goes like this. Young Nezahualcoyotl sees his father murdered, his city Texcoco fall. He has to flee. He escapes by sea.
I see. Okay.
Guided south along the Pacific coast by skilled Pontal sailors, known maritime traders.
Yeah.
He eventually reaches the Andes, which were politically fractured at the time.
And what does he do there?
He applies his advanced Mesoamerican knowledge, especially irrigation, way beyond what they had locally to transform Cusco's dry valleys, makes them fertile, gains trust, power.
Builds a power base using knowledge from home.
Right. Through alliances and military skill, he eventually defeats the main rival, the Chanca clan. This kicks off the real rise of the Inca Empire. He wasn't actually known as Pachacuti until later, maybe around 1438, but this is the start of him turning this small kingdom into a massive empire.
So he basically jumpstarts the Inca Empire, sails down, becomes a leader, and then he sails back north again, back to Mexico.
Exactly. The narrative has him returning north, but not alone. He brings elite Andean engineers with him, and crocs like maize may be genetically improved in the Andes.
Bring technology back.
Yeah, unveiling these advanced Andean techniques, better terracing, hydraulics, farming back in the Valley of Mexico. And the culmination is blending that Inca discipline and engineering with the existing Acolwa laws and culture, leading to his huge role in founding the Aztec Empire.
Completing the circle. Exile to empire builder twice over.
A poetic journey that began in Texcoco, as the source puts it. In 1428, he teams up with Itzcoatl, remember him, Obsidian Serpent.
Great bodyguard.
They lead a rebellion, smash the dominant power, Azcapotzalco, and form the Triple Alliance. That's what really kicks off major Aztec expansion.
So this whole incredible life story exile, founding two massive empires, it's not just history, it's presented as the foundational template, the blueprint for hero stories.
Precisely. The archetypal hero's journey, but reinterpreted as a deliberately engineered narrative template. Like the watch created a prototype story designed to resonate deeply, to be copied across cultures.
Like an omni-myth.
Exactly. The theory even connects it to Freudian ideas, comparative mythology. Suggests this pattern wasn't spontaneous, it was designed to tap into human consciousness, to explain why we see similar hero stories everywhere. They weren't independent, they were seeded by the watch to impose a common psychological framework, guiding the collective psyche.
Which brings us neatly to part 3. The watch's strategic toolkit shaping societies and minds. If G was engineering history, even universal stories, what were the specific tools? The philosophies. One big surprise is humanism. We think Renaissance Europe, right? Focus on human potential, reason.
Right, but the contention here is radical. Humanism, not European. It was a highly sophisticated philosophical framework meticulously developed in the Americas.
Developed in the Americas.
That's the claim. And then strategically introduced to the Old World by pivotal figures such as G, whose real origins, remember, were supposedly across the Atlantic. His philosophies allegedly blended remnants of earlier bicameral worldviews.
That idea of hearing God's voices directly.
Yeah, that pre-self-conscious thinking, blended with the strategic needs of Renaissance statecraft. A deliberate fusion of ancient psychology and modern politics.
So humanism, in this view, wasn't about freedom. It was a subtle yet pervasive ideological front, designed to help the watch consolidate power.
That's the implication, that it actually dismantled individual autonomy, creating a more compliant and controlled populace, not an empowered one. A pretty dark twist on a movement we usually celebrate.
Definitely.
And the polymaths involved, like Alberti, they supposedly used this deliberate invention of an ancient past as a protective shield. By attributing their revolutionary ideas to fake ancient sources or figures, it let them bypass the church, the political powers, smuggle in new concepts disguised as rediscovered wisdom.
Clever.
This specific Toltec humanism, they claim, originated with the cult of Quetzalcoatl in the Americas, the god of learning. Nezahualcoyotl, as G, supposedly leveraged his extensive influence to standardize educational systems and spread this remixed knowledge globally, embedding these ideas everywhere.
That's profound rereading. But the watch's influence wasn't just ideas, it was physical too, right? Architecture, leaving huge marks on the land.
Oh, absolutely. Monumental design is a signature. Pachacuti, as G, is widely suspected of designing Machu Picchu, you know, that incredible Inca citadel.
Breathtaking place.
And transforming Cusco, the Inca capital, into that planned city shaped like a panther, sophisticated terracing, advanced water systems, and Sacsayhuaman, that massive fortress above Cusco with the giant interlocking stones, also credited to him. Feats of engineering that still blow our minds.
And Nezahualcoyotl, again as G, he's credited with similar advances back in Mesoamerica. Shows that consistent mastery.
He is. Innovations like earthquake-proof masonry vital there. Artificial lakes, complex fountains, pressurized water systems amazing for the time. Road networks, elaborate terracing for farming. The theory even claims the hierarchical structure of many modern societies retains the 3 distinct grades of his craft guilds, an enduring organizational blueprint.
Like he set up the system.
And notice Alberti's role as an architect in Europe. Primarily a designer. He delegated the actual building to this diverse network of specialized agents, which reflects the watch's supposed decentralized model. The genius was in the plan, executed by operatives.
A distributed network. And speaking of subtle clues, obsidian, the volcanic glass, that was their calling card.
Yeah, fascinating detail, right? It's Linksakeetl's bodyguard, its Coatl obsidian serpent, the name connects.
Yeah.
Obsidian is contended to be one of the watch's recognizable calling cards.
Why obsidian?
Because it makes incredibly sharp blades. Sharper than steel scalpels. Even today, some surgeons still use it. prized for knives, arrowheads. The source suggests if you meticulously tracked obsidian, its mining, trade routes, you could reconstruct numerous facets of the watch's intricate operations, like tracing a unique fingerprint across time and space.
So a simple rock could unlock a global network's secrets. And this network wasn't just building, it was actively erasing history too. Burning records.
This is crucial and pretty chilling. Control of information. The Florentine Codex, that big record of Aztec life, it explicitly says its Cotl, obsidian serpent, ordered the burning of all existing historical manuscripts.
Why?
His reason. It was not wise that people should know about the paintings the codices holding their history, interpreted as deliberate act of historical erasure, allowing watch spies to construct and enforce a state-sanctioned chronology, a manufactured past. Get rid of anything that contradicts the official story.
In the eagle and serpent vision, Mexico's national symbol, that's presented as a foundational spy myth.
Reportedly witnessed by Tenochtitlan and Ixtlahuaca. So yeah, a nation's core symbol, possibly a planted story to legitimize power. That's profound, isn't it?
And it really is.
And Texcoco, G's home city, a major intellectual hub, had this huge library, but it quite conveniently did not survive its exposure to Spanish agents. Suggests maybe not accidental destruction.
Orchestrated.
Possibly. And the fact that many Aztec and Inca cultural traits aren't unique to Mexico, Peru, but appear across the Americas, suggests a widespread imposition of their meticulously crafted cultural model. Their political influence supposedly stretched from Guatemala to San Diego, a truly continental operation.
So even the age of discovery, not organic exploration, but a controlled release of geographic intel.
Exactly, a strategic use of knowledge to get specific geopolitical results. While other advanced knowledge was suppressed, it implies the watch knew about the Americas long before and just chose when to reveal it.
And this engineering wasn't just maps and history, it extended to language itself.
That's another huge claim. That G is the underlying force behind the remarkable linguistic uniformity of Roman languages. Italian, French, Spanish, Portuguese, Romanian, all from Latin, suggests a profound process of linguistic engineering unifying communication across Europe, even among rival groups. Easier for the watch to control and communicate.
Our language is shaped by them. Wow. And what about philosophy, religion?
Nezahualcoyotl's concept of the unknown of everywhere, this abstract unifying deity, interpreted as the ultimate conduit for the introduction of monotheism in the Americas, for societal cohesion. Easy to bridge beliefs, easier to control.
Makes sense.
The friars noted he didn't support human sacrifice, actively tried to convert people, change their view and the value of human life, a radical shift, and Quetzalcoatl was revered by Maya, Inca, and Aztecs, a common ground G could leverage. He even supposedly founded Cuscatlan in El Salvador, extending his reach.
So if you connect all this, our languages, our core beliefs might all be part of this grand design to unify, maybe control populations, pave the way for a specific world order. It's just mind-boggling.
It truly is. It suggests an incredibly long-term systematic plan, shaping society from its deepest cultural and cognitive roots. What we see as organic evolution might, in this framework, be completely engineered.
Okay, let's move to part 4, the tides of consciousness and control. This brings in Julian Jaynes' theory of the bicameral mind. Remind us what that is, and how does encrypted reality connect it to human sacrifice?
Right, Julian Jaynes. His idea was that ancient people, before modern self-awareness developed, didn't have that inner voice, that introspection we have. Instead, they experienced authority as external divine voices. Auditory hallucinations, commands from gods or ancestors heard literally.
Hearing voices telling them what to do.
Exactly. So in that bicameral framework, human sacrifice, which seems so horrific to us, may not have been merely ritualistic. It could have been a direct, compelled response to those hallucinated commands. Priests, rulers, just faithfully obeying what they perceived as direct divine orders.
So the Aztecs, with their huge scale of sacrifice when the Spanish arrived, they were still deeply enmeshed in the bicameral paradigm.
That's the suggestion. It wasn't just ritual for them. It was an existential necessity. Literal commands from their gods, needed to keep the cosmos running, make the sun rise, non-negotiable.
Which means the conquistadors, being products of a later, more introspective consciousness, they just saw it as barbaric. They couldn't grasp the Aztecs' reality.
Exactly. They couldn't comprehend that for the Aztecs, it wasn't a choice. So the collapse of those practices under Spanish rule, not just military conquest. It's interpreted as the violent imposition of a new, self-reflective mode of thought upon a fundamentally bicameral world.
Wow, that changes how you view ancient barbarism. Totally different operating system.
And the source goes even further, claims all the dates we assign to ancient human sacrifice, Sumerians, Egyptians, Shang China, Canaanites, Celts, Carthage, Maya, Aztecs, Inca, all of it, treated as symbolic or forged projections into a fabricated past.
The sacrifice didn't happen back then either.
In this radical model, remember, recorded history begins in the 11th century. Prehistory is the Dark Ages, that convenient void. So the decline of sacrifice isn't moral progress. It signifies this profound shift away from the raw, externalized commands of the bicameral mind towards more internalized forms of societal control.
Controls orchestrated by the watch.
Often orchestrated or leveraged by the watch, yes, as they guided human development.
But the watch's story didn't end with G, right? The theory says the network got corrupted. Enter the mole.
Right. After G's death, allegedly, the watch was corrupted by this new, ruthless spy master known only as the mole.
What did the mole do?
This figure supposedly weaponized global disasters like the plague, which is just a chilling level of suggested control over natural events.
Weaponized the plague.
And proliferated firearms, spread guns everywhere, specifically to destabilize existing powers. This act, the theory claims, served to sever and redirect the watch's established leadership lineage, changed G's family control, established a new dominant thread for them all. Basically, a coup within the secret network.
Unbelievable control and warfare. How did the mole change that?
His refinement of weapons manufacturing, especially firearms and artillery, utterly revolutionized warfare, shifted power from knights and swords to cannons and muskets,
which helped colonization.
Massively accelerated it, gave European powers a huge advantage. It also strengthened central states, gave rulers more power, hastened the end of feudalism. Guns changed everything: hunting, law enforcement, defense, gave the mole a new leverage.
And the mole didn't just use guns and disease. They weaponized prophecy, the Quetzalcoatl prophecy.
This is presented as particularly cunning. The watch, now under the mole, strategically exploited the remixed historical narrative surrounding the prophesied return of the Quetzalcoatl archetype.
To do what?
To convince the Aztecs that Hernán Cortés was a divine emissary, which, of course, made the Spanish conquest much easier.
How did the prophecy match Cortés?
Quetzalcoatl was mythically described as an older, bearded man, sending representatives, arriving from the ocean in a shiny suit, interpreted as armor, accompanied by 4 men. It eerily matched Cortés and his entourage.
So the narrative was planted, like a trap.
Covertly inserted as a top-secret lever, the source says, an engineered belief system intentionally pulled by the mole for conquest.
That's a terrible betrayal, using sacred beliefs against people. And G's own family, his descendants, they got caught in this too.
It seems so. Montezuma II welcomed Cortés peacefully, gave him gifts, thinking he was divine. Then Cortés took him hostage. Later, Cortés murdered one of Nezahualcoyotl's grandsons. The theory sees this as strongly suggesting that G's family was double-crossed by the very spy network they had established.
A common pattern in spying. Betrayal.
A common pattern observed within intelligence organizations, the source notes. Operatives struggle with family ties, constant relocation, new identities, sometimes sacrificed for the mission. The source even suggests many Spanish conquistadors were actually Cossack military leaders from the Eurasian steppe. And Cortés might be a distortion of a Turkic title, court, just further blurring the lines.
But the watch's influence, it survived this internal fight, even after the conquest.
Apparently so. After Tenochtitlan fell, most of G's children intermarried with the Spanish elites, became part of the new colonial power structure. They actively participated in all subsequent campaigns of native conquest.
So they switched sides, or adapted.
Nezahualcoyotl's lineage, fully integrated into the Latin colonial aristocracy by the 16th, 17th centuries, shows the watch's persistence. They didn't vanish, they adapted, infiltrated the new system, kept their agenda going.
This paints such a complex, almost terrifying picture. History driven by these cycles of cataclysm and control, orchestrated.
It does. The Aztec calendar, connecting war cycles, economics, leadership, that's seen as reflecting the watch's own methods. The network was meticulously aligned with the long count of these cyclical patterns, planning interventions based on these huge rhythms.
In cataclysms, like pandemics, they weren't random.
interpreted as systemic decisions that punctuate the trajectory of the watch's operations at regular intervals, part of establishing a worldwide social order, like planned resets.
Sounds completely deterministic. Are we just stuck in a loop? But then the source brings in Greg Braden's fractal time theory using the Mayan calendar.
Right, that's a crucial counterpoint. Braden's idea proposes repeating cycles, yes, but with choice points. Moments for conscious alteration, transformation.
So not totally predetermined.
Exactly. If global disasters, history itself, are part of a controlled cycle, what about free will, our agency? Braden says cycles recur, but they're not set in stone. They offer points where humanity can consciously change the outcome, break the pattern. The theory suggests the watch exploits these cycles, but the potential to intervene, to choose differently, is still there.
And that reappearance of lost ancient knowledge from Byzantium during the Renaissance,
Characterized as a classic cover story, reinforces the idea of controlled release, not organic rediscovery, information parceled out to fit the watch's timeline.
Okay, let's move to the final part, part 5. The Albertian perspective decoding the invisible architects. After all this, what's the ultimate reason behind the watch's grand design? Just power or something else?
The theory posits their relentless pursuit of power, control, legitimacy. It's seen as an essential protective rationale. It enables them to exert necessary guidance for humanity's long-term survival, directly aligned with G's supposed grand design.
Necessary guidance. So it's for our own good.
Their function transcends mere manipulation, it's argued. It's a necessary, albeit morally ambiguous, stewardship of human evolution. And like evolution itself, its operations are inherently violent, unfolding through the brutal mechanisms of natural selection, implying their interventions, even catastrophic ones, are seen as necessary evils for the greater good.
So G himself believed that faking history, all of it, was the only way to save humanity, like a benevolent dictatorship on a planetary scale.
That's presented as his core motivation. He felt solidifying his authority, establishing stable societies even through fabrication and violence, was the most effective, and perhaps the sole viable means to steer humanity away from self-destruction. His absolute control was necessary stewardship, the ultimate vision. Yes, a benevolent dictatorship meticulously controlled by the grand spy master of each successive age. A continuous line ensuring humanity's survival, but without our knowing consent.
That puts a whole different spin on it. And this vision, it's tied to literacy, writing itself as a tool of control.
The author makes a really specific, quite shocking claim. Most humans were hunter-gatherers until G's era. Widespread civilization truly commenced with the advent of literacy.
Wow.
This ability to write, record, transmit info, it didn't just enable advanced seafaring, charts, knowledge transfer, it also facilitated the watch's expanding control over information, the age of discovery, not exploration, but that controlled release and strategic utilization of geographic intelligence, while suppressing other knowledge.
And the conquest of the Aztecs and Incas. More than just military, a collision of consciousness.
Viewed as a catastrophic collision between two fundamentally distinct modes of human consciousness. Modern introspective self-awareness hitting civilizations that might still have been partly bicameral.
Following Jaynes' theory.
Right. Moctezuma's hesitation, his inability to grasp Spanish deceit, both seen as reflecting that persistent bicameral reliance on externalized command, waiting for signs, orders. Cortez and Pizarro, with their modern mindset, expertly exploited this perceptual chasm, led to a metaphysical unraveling, a clash of realities.
But literacy, spreading via the printing press, that also helped the watch's agenda, not just forging the past, but shaping the future.
Absolutely. The printing press fueled this huge demand for books, which, in turn, spread G's omni-myth and fostered self-awareness, maybe a controlled kind. Hand copying couldn't keep up. Then newspapers emerge. A whole new way to get curated intelligence to the public, creates an informed but maybe more controllable populace, a key step towards global information dominance.
And the theory suggests using Alberti's own work on linear perspective as a way to understand the watch. An Albertian perspective, how does that work?
It's a powerful metaphor. Alberti's De Pictura, 1435, formalized how to represent 3D space on a 2D surface, creating realistic depth. The idea here is to apply a similar perspective to the watch's complex layered narrative.
Like looking for the structure underneath?
Exactly. His geometric principles, his preference for central plans and architecture, for harmony, divine proportion. They're seen as a profound metaphor for the watch's systematic architectural approach to shaping societal perceptions, imposing a harmonious, controlled history.
So using this Albertian perspective, you can spot the lines of force, the vanishing points, see where history looks warped or misdated, unveil the design.
Precisely. It's a lens to see seemingly disparate historical events, figures, and mythologies, not as random, but as intricately interconnected threads woven into a coherent, overarching omni-myth. It highlights the Watch as unseen architects working through proxies, aliases, always hidden.
And G himself became a proxy after death.
Poignantly, yes. His true achievements obscured, reattributed to serve new narratives, further hiding the Watch's origins.
It's a sophisticated way to view hidden influence, a key to this encrypted reality. And it ties into even more esoteric stuff, global connections, older networks.
It does. G, as the first true humanist, expanding his retinue of spies, often masquerading as artisans, painters, sculptors, letting them move freely, infiltrate societies.
Subtle clues, too, like in paintings.
Yeah, his self-portrait medallion is mentioned, and a subtle depiction in Mantegna's Camera degli Sposi frescoes, that famous room in Mantua. He's supposedly a figure in crimson whispering to the ruler. A hidden signature, maybe?
And he's linked to Christian Rosenkreuz, the Rosicrucians.
Interpreted as the allegorical pioneer of the proto-Masonic Order of the Rose Cross, Rosicrucians, which emerged around the same time as Gutenberg's press in Germany, suggests a parallel track, esoteric traditions and mass communication spreading together.
Connecting to Freemasonry.
And the old charges, their foundational documents, which were linked to texts associated with the Spanish Inquisition. And crucially, the Inquisition was funded by Isabella and Ferdinand.
The same monarchs who funded Columbus.
Exactly, thereby directly linking the Watch's influence to the monumental age of exploration, suggesting Columbus's voyages weren't random, but part of the Watch's orchestrated plan to reveal the New World on their terms.
So Renaissance, exploration, secret societies, all potentially intertwined by the Watch. And this connects back to pre-Columbian transatlantic contact, setting the stage for G's American origins.
The theory asserts Mexico, California weren't isolated, tied to a global power across Eurasia and the Americas before Columbus, points to evidence like the Viking settlement in Greenland, c. 980 AD, the Pessie canoe, oldest boat, Netherlands, c. 8000 BC, showing ancient seafaring skills, later reed boats in Iraq, Egypt, East Asia, suggesting shared advanced maritime knowledge, maybe spread by a network.
And physical traits, specific bloodlines.
Right. Those Native American groups with Viking-like features, Ache, Paiute, Pequanches, suggests a specific spy lineage. Blonde hair, light eyes among some Melanesians, Solomon Islands hinting at ancient mixing, plus strong genetic and archaeological evidence of Polynesian Inca contact pre-Columbus. Long voyages were feasible.
And paired expansions of Polynesian and Iberian exploration.
Seen as parallel deployment of maritime expansion strategies. Not independent, but maybe two arms of the same network mapping the globe. And the clincher, perhaps. Icelandic DNA showing Native American women mixing with Vikings centuries before Columbus. A powerful hint of early transatlantic contact. Establishes a plausible context for the Watch arriving in the Americas, for G's story.
And finally, the Alberti family line itself. Goes back to Niccolo di Jacopo di Alberti, b. 1327, temple banker.
Exclusive banker to the papacy, 1362. Managed spies via his Avignon bank. Pioneered arts patronage. Perfectly setting the stage for his descendant, G.
Shows continuity.
A continuity of philosophical stance and methods. Like Quetzalcoatl's opposition to human sacrifice, suggests a deliberate effort by the Watch to shape societal norms over centuries. The Alberti family, in this view, was a key institutional arm. Finance, intelligence, cultural influence, all controlled.
So, okay, what does this all mean? We've done a really deep dive into a theory that just completely turns history on its head. This secret network, the Watch, this single, incredible operative G, founding empires, orchestrating civilization, engineered languages, manipulated prophecies, fake ancient texts, controlled knowledge. It's a vision of our past that's so much more orchestrated, so much more controlled than we could possibly imagine.
It really forces you to think, doesn't it? That the historical narratives we've inherited, maybe they aren't organic developments from millions of individual choices. Maybe they're just carefully constructed stories, designed by unseen hands for long-term goals. Makes you reevaluate everything, the sources, the assumptions.
This deep dive, it challenges us, you, me, everyone listening, to think differently about the narratives we just accept as fact, to question the very fabric of historical reality. And it begs that question. If history is, like Encrypted Reality claims, an encrypted text, a coded message, how do we learn to read between the lines, not just in the past, but right now in our own time? And If the Watch's ultimate goal was this benevolent dictatorship to steer humanity away from destroying itself, and if cataclysms, pandemics, are systemic decisions in repeating cycles, what kind of narrative are we living in right now? And who, if anyone, are its invisible architects?
That is a powerful and, yeah, pretty unsettling thought to leave people with. It really encourages a much deeper, more critical look at all the information we encounter. And maybe, just maybe, a reevaluation of our own agency in the grand sweep of it all.
You can definitely dive even deeper into this material. It's fascinating stuff. To download the entire audiobook, get supplemental material, you can visit michaelanthonyalberta.com. That's michaelanthonyalberta.com.